Here's a question most people avoid asking themselves. If you make $60, $70, even $90,000 a year, why does it still feel like you're one bad month away from trouble? You're not lazy. You're not bad with numbers. You went to school, you got the job, you did what you were told would work. And yet, by the 20th of the month, your bank account is quietly asking you a question you don't want to answer. This isn't a story about being broke. This is a story about spending like you're rich when you're not. Let's take someone real. Not a headline, not a horror story, just an ordinary person. She's 29, works in marketing in a mid-sized American city, makes $72,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $4,800 a month. She rents a one-bedroom apartment for $1,500 because it's not that expensive for the area. She leases a car for $420 a month because her old one wasn't reliable enough for someone at her level. She's paying $210 a month toward student loans and another $300 toward 2 credit cards she opened in her 20s and never quite paid off. Add insurance, subscriptions, a gym she visits twice a month, and eating out 4 or 5 times a week because cooking after a 9-hour workday just isn't realistic. By the time all of it is accounted for, she has less than $200 of breathing room. Not $200 of savings. $200 of margin for error in an entire month. Nothing on that list is irresponsible on its own. That's the part people miss. The apartment is reasonable. The car is not a luxury car. The credit card debt didn't come from one reckless weekend, it came from small, forgivable decisions spread out over years. The system flaw isn't any single choice. It's that every one of those choices was priced for a version of her that earns more than she actually does. Rent priced for a dual-income lifestyle. A car priced for someone without debt. A social life priced for someone who isn't already stretched. Individually reasonable. Collectively unaffordable. Here's where the math gets uncomfortable. If she saved even 15% of her income, a modest, unremarkable amount by financial standards, that would be $720 a month. Over 10 years invested at a historical market average, that's not just $86,000 set aside. With growth, it becomes closer to $140,000. That number doesn't come from a bonus, a lottery ticket, or a side hustle. It comes from the space between what she earns and what she chooses to spend. A space that currently doesn't exist, not because her income is too low, but because her lifestyle has quietly expanded to consume all of it. This is where psychology matters more than math. Humans don't compare their spending to their income. They compare it to the people around them. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's not driven by greed, it's driven by belonging. When everyone around you leases a newer car, eats out often, and lives in a nicer apartment than strictly necessary, spending less doesn't feel like discipline. Feels like falling behind. So people don't overspend because they're irrational. They overspend because underspending, in their social context, feels like a quiet form of failure. The tragedy is that this pressure is invisible. Nobody posts their credit card statement. Everyone appears to be doing fine, which makes everyone else assume they should be doing fine too. If this pattern continues unexamined for another 10 or 15 years, the outcome isn't dramatic. There's no single collapse. It's simply this. A person who earned a good income for 2 decades and has very little to show for it beyond a lifestyle that looked stable from the outside. No crisis, just an absence of accumulation. That is arguably the more dangerous version of financial failure because it never forces a reckoning. It just quietly continues. People who build long-term wealth are rarely the highest earners in the room. What separates them isn't income, insight, or even sacrifice. It's that they treat their spending as a decision made in comparison to their own numbers, not the numbers of people around them. They ask what their income actually allows, not what their income is supposed to represent. It's a smaller, quieter form of discipline than most financial content admits. No hustle, no dramatic sacrifice, just a consistent refusal to let lifestyle expand as fast as income does. None of this means depriving yourself, and none of it means guilt over past decisions. Most people didn't choose this pattern. They inherited it from a culture that prices normal life as if everyone is doing slightly better than they actually are. The only real shift is awareness, noticing the gap between what you earn and what your life is currently priced for, and deciding calmly whether that gap makes sense for you. If this made you think differently about your own numbers, even slightly, that's really the only goal here. If you'd like more of this kind of thinking, consider subscribing. No pressure, just more conversations like this one.